Welcome back to another episode of Down Under the Crossbar podcast. Arsenal from an Aussie angle. And I tell you what, Steve Payos, does it get any better than this weekend? Arsenal with a 1-0 win over Palace, Liverpool losing, Man City losing, Chelsea losing. Does it get any better than this, apart from a couple of injury concerns?
The only thing that would have made it better, BB, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening to everybody watching this around the world, our millions and millions of subscribers, as we continue to grow this wonderful product, would have been Everton getting something out of Tottenham or not getting completely thumped at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. That probably needs a change at some point, but we're going with the Dickinson Hill, the Dicko Hill, the Hillinson Dick, whatever they want to call it. Unfortunately, that would have been the only thing that would have made it better, mate, would have been Tottenham losing. But look, fabulous weekend again, mate. I think, BB, this is the third weekend in a row we've sat here now. Or could have been fourth. I mean, it's the fourth Premier League weekend in a row that Liverpool have lost. And I know that City have been on a fabulous streak after their early damage in rounds 2 and 3. But to see them lose again now has put us in a fabulous place. Great time to be a Gooner, mate. I'm glad that back here in Canberra again, it's back to sort of being 5 degrees overnight. The frost is coming tonight back into the mines. So the red Gunners jumpers come out, mate. The red police Gunners has come out for today. Very, very happy, mate. Me and you were talking all night last night. Fascinating game. Again, a fascinating game. I'm loving these tussles. I'm loving these battles. And one of the big reasons that I'm really enjoying these battles is because we're up for the battle. We're up for the fight. And that's something that's been leveled at us for so many years of just being A, weak, B, not being physical enough, C, not being able to adapt, and D, not being able to win against these teams. I remember 4 weeks ago, you and I said that these corresponding fixtures last season gave us 2 points. We've got 12 out of 12 against bogey mid-table teams that come to disrupt. The first half was a strange old game where Palace were better, but we created the one big moment of the game, which was the winning goal. In the second half, we were much better, but it felt like Palace carried sort of the greater goal threat. But no shots on target, again, indicates that that's probably not quite true. I think where people seem to be getting mixed up, I've got one of my cousins who I get along with so well. We should get him on this show, actually, because he's just the ultimate negatron, the ultimate antithesis to everything normal. He's like, mate, we look like conceding every game. And my argument to that is we definitely do not. Teams get the ball in the final third. Teams get in positions where they look like they might do something, but we're so well drilled that the final ball goes nowhere. We saw it yesterday. We saw defenders shepherding the ball to Raya, shepherding the ball out. We saw Raya commanding his box beautifully. There was a cross there with Eddie on about the 70th minute. There was a few other moments where he just handled. He didn't have to make a save. He didn't have to make a direct save, weak shot or tough shot, or, the one that comes to mind is the Forest save that you and I talked about, that unbelievable save off the header against Forest. He's not had to do anything. We haven't conceded down, what is it, BB, since Newcastle. And then before Newcastle. Yeah. And before Newcastle, I think it was Port Vale. We didn't concede. Olympiacos perhaps. I can't remember, but it's like in 7 or 8 games, in the 7 or 8 wins in a row now, we've conceded 1 goal. So he's not had to do anything. So look, overall, mate, fabulous result, fabulous feeling. I think we're all buzzing with major cautious optimism. I don't care how it gets done. I've repeated that to everybody that's wanted to listen this season, last season. I don't care how it gets done this year. I don't care if we go to Burnley next week and win 1-0. I don't care. Sunderland win 1-0. I don't care. That'll be a test. I feel like Sunderland away. But Burnley away next week. Good on them. They had a good win last night. But I think we should be confident going to that as well. So overall, mate, cautious optimism. I know you're feeling the same. You really, picked things well last night with, Martinelli saying he should have come on. He looked really good when he came on, I thought. Looked alive, looked good on the right-hand side. Midfield stability you were calling for sort of midway through the second half. We got that as well. And I thought that after their little spell, Palace, between sort of 60 and 75, I really thought the last 15, 20, there would have been some nervous energy coming through the TV for both of us and in the ground, but I didn't really feel overly threatened. So great result, mate. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you're feeling. Give us some of your tactical analysis. I've been loving your shorts, mate, where you've got the little tactics going now, analysing what's been happening. So, look, it's a good time. It's a good time for us, mate, heading into another important 4 games over the next 10 days.
The only way this weekend could have gone better is if I didn't sub out Aston Villa's Matty Cash and put him on the bench. Because he scored a in wonder goal against Man City, and he got
Or Tottenham
15
Hotspur's Mickey
points.
van den Ven. Oh, yeah, they're away at Everton. He won't score and they'll concede a goal. Next minute, he gets 23 points with a double and a clean sheet and bonus points coming out the wazoo. You are so
Oh.
right.
And I've done it before too. He scored earlier this season, and I think I had him. I had him in my team when Matty Cash scored. It was
Mhm.
all good, all good. But he's playing City. He's playing Erling Haaland. I'll bench him. 15 points and a goal and a 1-0 win. However, that's offset by the fact that City dropped points, Liverpool dropped points. Really you couldn't ask for any better as an Arsenal fan. Um, let's yeah, tactical sort of analysis. I had a text message going almost ready to send to you um, when we won that free kick. And I think, look, I'll just wait because it's
Yeah.
PCF. And Eze scores an absolute thunderous goal from the edge of the half volley from the edge of the box. But the text message was basically, uh, like, Palace weren't playing as narrow and as defensively as Fulham were last week, right? Saka and Trossard had so much time and space against Fulham. They were really dangerous. But overnight, just wasn't the case. Saka was, I know he was sick during the week, so he wasn't at 100%, but he was, virtually anonymous. And that's down to some great sort of tactical play by Crystal Palace, I thought. But I was just about to message you saying, look, given that there is a little bit more space, I had expected a little bit more from Eze, and maybe we were missing Odegaard a little bit. Look, I take it back. Like that's not saying Eze was bad or he's mad at the match. Like he had a fantastic game. He made some really nice runs. Wasn't able to sort of finish off a run or a couple of passes that maybe Victor couldn't quite do the same amount with. But I maybe I had expected a little more when he was when finally him sorry when finally seeing him get the ball in a little bit more space with a little bit more room to move. But I think having thought about it and sort of thought about where he got the ball last night, although there was more space probably in midfield closer towards halfway, the defensive midfield of Palace was so disciplined just
Yeah.
off the edge of the box. So it was kind of an illusion that there was that Palace were playing a little bit wider or a little bit longer, I think, because just the two guys just in front of the defense, they did such a good job in that, like we say, I think possession in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes was up around 70, 80%. And it was just that last pass, which just no one could find. Victor had a couple of goes, and I think it was a heavy touch in the box from him off the chest, maybe, and there was nothing for Saka. So that got me thinking that I just wanted Eze to do a little bit more, but I sort of wound that back a little bit because that space was probably a little bit false. There was not the time and space that I probably thought he had watching it first up. And look, he made some great runs, he made some good plays as well. So that's my thoughts on Eze. And look, he scored that fantastic goal, first goal in the league for Eze against his old team. You couldn't write the script any better than that. So that's what I would sort of say about that.
I will make the quick comment though that I certainly was a little critical of him in the first 30 minutes. I mean, I've got it on record, sending it to you, saying that it just looked like there's still elements where he's just trying to work out what his role is exactly and what his position is. And you nailed it last week when you said he just doesn't have the same amount of free space to run into. What we saw last night was exactly as you said, he had free space to run into, but he had such a well-marshaled, central defensive midfield led by Wharton, who I'm not sure is a complete defensive midfielder. He reminds me a bit of a Declan Rice, like a young Declan Rice, the way he's sort of playing. But they were so well-marshaled on the edge of that box. And then they had the brilliance of guys like Ismail Assar, who was able to come back, even though he was a forward, he was able to come back and get it. They played some really nice 1-2s, I thought. Tyreek Mitchell coming in off the left. They were able to play some really nice triangles. So what they were able to do is that when the ball came, we'll set up our block, as you said, in front of the keeper, that sort of front six. And then if you can good enough to play through as you can. So we saw Eze get the ball, run towards that back four, but then go, okay, I'm not sure what I'm going to do now. That just strikes me purely as I just need a little bit more time on the training paddock with Victor
Yeah.
to understand his runs. I need to understand what Saka's going to do. And as you said, Saka had a look like Mikel said he had a virus or a flu or something like that. So you could see that he was not galloping really. He was sort of not really going. You could see he was tired. He was sort of moving the ball nicely as he needed to, but that he wasn't completely cutting in all those bursts of pace we know for Saka. You know, he would just burst and beat his man and then shoot from outside the box and put it in that far corner. We didn't see that. So Eze's still finding his feet, no doubt about it. What's it going to be when Erdogan comes back? There's so many questions. But I think you're spot on there in the way that we played a well-drilled team. We played a team that, as Arteta said afterwards, that's probably the biggest win of the season. And there's a part of me that tends to agree with that. I mean, if we had beaten City, I would have said potentially. If we had beaten Liverpool, potentially. But there is a part of me that definitely looks at that and goes, that's the biggest win of the season. They are a quality side, Crystal Palace. Glasner's, got them winning FA Cups for a reason, Community Shields for a reason. They're solid. They must have had an off week last week against Bournemouth when, they nearly got beat. But maybe that was just getting excited about, trying to score some goals and trying to, open up at home. But look, I thought it was a fabulous win. And I think you've summarised Eze well there, because I was critical of him in that first 35. And I was saying, look, he just needs to almost take a touch more or be a bit more patient. And then what happens is he's the only guy who can sort of do like a not beautiful, look like a Di Canio-esque type of volley, the way he went up and put it in the corner.
It was unreal. Like, and he's had shots. Like he's. It was a couple of weeks ago now. I don't remember him having too many chances against Fulham or the 2 weeks earlier. I think we had the international break before that. But in his first sort of couple of games, he had a lot of shots, and it was just like, oh man, eventually you'll get it. Eventually he's going to go in. Like he's too good a player. So it was great to see him just not have to think too much. The ball just came out. Yeah, almost like like say Di Canio scissor kick half volley, perfectly placed. So slow for him as well. Yeah, there are a few stories in the lead up to the game of thinking back to when he signed to Arsenal from Palace, and he had to sit down interview with Ian Wright, who made the same journey, and sort of a few sort of stories in the lead up, revisiting that and the sort of history and the weight of this game. Fantastic to see him score. I don't know whether he celebrated, like he got into it. We saw Ekitike midweek didn't celebrate, and Declan Rice gave it to the West Ham, or gave it back to the West Ham fans about a month ago. But I think he deserved it. I think he got clapped off by both sets of fans when he was taken off in the second half. So it sort of speaks to how Palace fans view him. Obviously, FA Cup winning goal. That he's got a lot of currency stored up with those fans, and again, classy Crystal Palace fans.
I think with Eze's too, BB, is that he's still got plenty to improve. I don't think we're seeing anywhere near the best of him. I don't think we're seeing anywhere near. I don't think he would have been able to get the best out of himself at a Crystal Palace, just purely because you're just in a team, again, respectfully mid-table, challenging right at the top. You're performing well at home. You've got a great manager who's set you up well and giving you lots of wonderful structure, but he's still not set up to be, exactly the best player he could be. I felt we saw so many glimpses, and now I think that's where we're at, is that hopefully he opens up now to being that type of player. And overall, he can work in with the team. And of course, when the skipper comes back, I mean, he showed glimpses to Erdegaard of what he can be at his best. And I mean, it was only Olympiacos in the Champions League, and maybe I should put some more respect on them, but he carved up. So it goes to show maybe that once Eze can almost find that incisive ball, that might be the last thing he needs. That'll be good. And, he'll be able to find guys like Saka, who's fitter, perhaps. I thought Trossard was a lot better last night. He still had his moments, which had me, ready to send you the Tross is Dross text and all that sort of stuff. But he sort of definitely had his moments with that. But overall, I thought that he was, better. He was better. He nearly had a goal there in the first. Only had a goal in the second half. I thought Big Gabby. There was a fascinating chat I saw about Big Gabby. They're talking about him potentially. It's so early. Look, I'm just not prepared to say anything yet. But a defender as player of the year, a defender as a PFA player of the year, and they went back to Paul McGrath from '93. I think that was that United McGrath. I think he was. back in '93 in their inaugural Premier League winning season, and then you got Van Dijk, who won it in 2019, and then John Terry, who won it, I think, back in '05 when they actually won the comp, and that was the year they conceded 15 goals. So, I mean, it's nice for him to be in that conversation. I think if he keeps adding the goals to his tally and the clean sheets, he'll be right up there. But still very early days. But look, we've got to be happy, mate. We've got to be happy. You text me through, and Matty Cash scored because no doubt you were filthy at your benching on fantasy. So that was especially one of those where you're like, oh, mate, here we go.
And just lastly on Eze, I'd be fascinated just to, I wish they were doing one of those behind the scenes docos that they did a couple of years back. I'm just fascinated to know what the conversations and what the instructions are to him, because as you say, he was at Palace and he had a very clearly defined role in a team that you could say limited, right? Limited in what they could produce and how they played and all that kind of stuff. You kind of know what Crystal Palace was about. Now he's in a different role in a team that, again, has well-defined sort of structures and roles and what they want to do, but how does he fit into that? How are you able to free Eze from just being sort of a left-sided player to a 10 that goes where he wants? How do you encourage that, but how do you get him to play within the system as well? I think that's just a fascinating thing. And you nailed it on the head too. That's just time on the park, time on the training paddock, time with those guys playing around him as well.
Absolutely. Let's have a quick touch on the potential injuries, BB. I want to hear what you think about these 4 players apparently have sort of come off injured or gone down last night. It seems like Arteta's maybe not that worried. I don't know. There might just be little niggles. There might just be, all right, got a feeling. So it looks like Saka is just ill. I don't think you'd probably bench him for Brighton midweek. Wouldn't worry about him. Saliba coming off at half time has to be a concern. When someone comes off at sort of half time, it's like, all right, I can't continue. But then there's a part of me that says, well, maybe that's a good thing. He hasn't come out. They've said, look, let's not risk it. We've got Mosky. He's a good player. And he was seamless against second half.
He was great when he came on, yeah.
He was great. So Saliba, all right, let's not risk him, get him off. Deckers apparently came off with a knock that he copped in the first half. I know that we saw him sitting down in the second half with what looked like an ankle or a calf or an Achilles or something like that. But apparently it was something in the first half, which I didn't notice. The one that does have...
Sorry, it's on Rice about 9-10 minutes in. He cleared one. I can't remember if it was a corner or because he was back defending in the box and he cleared it just outside the box, and I think he just copped a knock on the way through. So I think that was that. But he went down for a couple of minutes, played on, and then obviously taken off near the end of the game. So again, whether that felt like a precaution for me, but maybe knocked it again in the second half. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, good call. So in that case, we think Deckers is probably all right. Saka's going to be okay. Saliba, bit touch and go, wait and see. The one and maybe 2 that really worried me was Calafiori. The way that he's talked about it in his post-match was like, look, yeah, he's felt something and we need to see how it goes. I feel like you get good at like any, he's not a family member of ours, but someone that we obviously follow closely when you're supporting a team. Like, you get to know a bit of the way that he sort of comments and the way he talks about his players, and just reading into a little bit about the way that he has sort of spoken about it's got me concerned with Calafiori, because he's been very, very, very good so far this season. And apparently Martinelli's felt some tightness towards the back end of the game as well, after only sort of being on for 20 minutes. Again, that wasn't really visible. Hopefully it's nothing, but so sort of 4-5 guys there. What's your thoughts on that? I think shouldn't affect things too much for Brighton. I'd expect a very, very changed lineup. I'd expect Carpio to come in, Benny White, Mosquera to start again, Lewis Skelly, Kepa, Norgard, Marino, perhaps Martinelli again would have played if he was fit, Wanyeri, maybe Dowman again. So I don't think there'll be a major concern there, but tell me what you think about that, and can we handle it? Because I know we've got a deep squad, but we're still missing Havertz, we're still missing Odegaard, we're still missing, Jesus, Madueke should be back soonish, you'd think, but still, that's a lot of guys.
Yeah, I think you nailed that on the head, especially with the Brighton game coming up. It feels like, just watching and listening to what Arteta said, it feels like Declan Rice is just a knock. It's not like tissue. It's not a muscle or anything. That feels like we'll be good. Again, I haven't been able to see what actually happened to Saliba, what it was. But yeah, like you say, when you got Mosquera sitting on the bench, hasn't played in a while, came on, replaced Saliba after what was it, 4 minutes
Yeah,
at Anfield, right? Yeah, and looked like yeah, again, and he like he did overnight, looked like a guy who's played 10 years at the top level. Won a Euro and come back from a couple of injuries. Just looks so experienced whenever he needed to make a play or whenever he had the ball at the back. Just yeah, very very comfortable with Mosquera coming in. The big one that worries me is Calafiori, like you say. He's
yep.
been fantastic this year. He's had history, recent history of injuries and his body sort of not being at 100%, that kind of stuff. So that's the one that's got me worried more than any others. And just to touch on him last night, he changed his game up. He played a lot more. He stuck to that left back. He was a left back for the majority of the game, whereas
Yep.
so I felt Timber was given. I don't know whether he was given that opportunity to roam or just the way the sort of game unfolded. Obviously, the Palace sort of transition into counter attack, they were very direct and very very sharp with it. So maybe that was just part of it as well. Calafiori hanging back rather than going marauding across the field, but that's just how good he is, right? Like he can do that. He can play as a left back, but as a attacking, he can play central. He can set up goals. He can score goals. That's the one. Obviously, Miles Lewis-Skelly comes straight in. That's obviously the change. Although who came on, replaced him last night? Was it Norgard? No, Hincapia came
I
on.
think it was Incapia. Yeah, Piero
Yeah,
came on for the
Cameron
last
played left back. So
10-15. Looked good. Looked like a mongrel, to be honest, like a mongrel
yeah,
dog. He was in.
absolutely.
He was in strong.
And so the depth, and that's what the last 9 months. What are we now? Yeah, until October. The last sort of transfer period over the off season, it's been about depth. Having gone through what we went through, particularly last season in terms of injuries and guys playing more than they would have under normal circumstances. So the depth is key. The depth is good. I'm happy with that. Lewis-Skelly, I would say, comes in, but again, yeah, long term, given how good Calafiori is, given how versatile and how impactful he is, that's the one that's got me worried. Again, I didn't even realize Martinelli was injured until reading about it after. So I'm assuming there's nothing majorly wrong there because he's been fantastic. I thought he might have come on earlier and maybe put a second goal away. I think a message you saying, I can feel it, a Martinelli goal coming here. And
He
again,
looked good. He looked good, didn't he?
yeah. And again, how the turntables, in the back end of August, we were saying, if we can get an offer from Saudi, maybe let him go. And he's been a match winner, I think, twice, once in Europe, and scored a fantastic goal last week as well. So I'd take it all back. You can stay anytime.
I stand by it to a certain extent, BB. I stand by it to a certain extent. I feel like
at the time, right?
At the time, I think it was accurate. At the moment, he's excelling, but excelling off the bench. He's not excelling, massively when he starts. I mean, he was good the other day against Atletico, and they still are a decent opponent. So that was up there with his better games. Beautiful finish. But let's see if he can do it week in, week out, because I suspect there'll need to be some rotation this week, which means I wonder what will go into the Burnley game. That's still a massive game. Like any away game in the Prem, I don't care what anyone says. They're tough games. Burnley away will be tough. And then after that, we move into Slavia away and an early kickoff, which I think there's a slight benefit in that. You play at about 6 o'clock European time, and then you can sort of get back on the plane and get home by about sort of midnight English time, and then get back in your routine the next day. So I don't mind that. But then after Slavia on a Wednesday night, I think it is, or Tuesday. Anyway, it's Tuesday or Wednesday. We've then got Sunderland on a late game Saturday. And I think these things make a difference, mate. Like you have been watching for a very, very long time. But, next week, Burnley at 2 o'clock on a Saturday. It'll be more daylight. It'll be, there's just a different vibe to these things. Non-televised TV. I can see that might be the game where we might, score 3 goals in the first half, shut it down, look very good. It's Sunderland away. It's a 5:30 game over there. It'll be under lights, depending on what the weather's doing. A full day on the drink for all the, the Sunderland fans. they'll be up for it, right? Shaq is going to lead
Yeah.
a side against his former club, who might feel a little bit hard done by about what happened to him, and perhaps reasonably so, because he's gone on to be invincible in Germany and, win a Bundesliga, and what was it, the German Cup he won, or they lost that Europa League final to Atalanta. But he'll be very, very keen to make amends. So that's a game, in summary there, I was saying that would be a big one going to international break. If we can win the next 4, I think the Cup could be a banana skin and Sunderland could be a banana skin, but I'd expect us to get through Burnley and Slavia reasonably well, regardless of who's fit.
And that's, I mean, you wouldn't be able to get odds on it, but I mean, we've got a game this weekend, but by the time we play Sunderland, I don't know, who knows what will happen with the table. I'm just looking at the points here, but we're sitting here now on the 27th of October, and that's 1 playing 3 on the table.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
And Bournemouth is too. Fantastic. So we're a quarter of the way through the season, so again, like you say, Sunderland, real danger game. Away up there, they're flying high. Yeah, that is, you've nailed that. That is a potential banana skin coming up in 2 weeks' time. But I want to say we do need to, every time we do this, we do need to touch on Liverpool as well. We're messaging a lot during the second half of that game. I thought that they were going to come back, even 2-0 down, 2 goals down. I thought they were going to come back and jag a point. What's going on there? We ask it every week, but what's going on? There's obviously a lot of spotlight on Mo Salah. He finished off a great goal, but they're leaking goals, and that is not your winger's fault. Kanate was off. Van Dijk, I don't think is in top form. Something's gone wrong there. What are your thoughts on Liverpool?
Mate, I'll speak to the first sort of 60. I'll watch the first 60 because we had that delay to the second half because of the referee needing to get subbed off at half time, which I don't know what was going on there. I don't want to go down the path of criticising refs too much on their physical side of things, but Simon Hoomba, look, just the guy who refed our game last night looked like a European ref. Young guy in the Premier League, but the European refs, the top-level Champions League guys, they're fit, they're strong, they look like athletes. Simon Hooper does not look like an athlete, and he was struggling to keep up with the pace of that game in the first half. I'm not sure that is – I don't know what happened there if that was the case, but the point being is that it was a weird one. It delayed the second half, and I don't think that helped Liverpool is where I'm going with this. Because what I saw in the first half was a team that were outplayed for the most part. Brentford got their goal off a long throw. Slot will be whinging for sure. And then what happened then was that for 20 minutes, Liverpool just tippy-tappied around the box, did nothing. Brentford managed to get their second, which was a cracking finish and cracking goal from Sade. Then after that, they've got the equaliser right on half time. You would have wanted to go into the break and then be straight back out again. So in my mind, that would have really bothered them to be like, all right, we're 15 late now, which meant I had to leave for my son's cricket 15 minutes in. So I can only speak to the first 60. But what I saw again was a side that just looked disjointed. They looked panicky when the goal went in, as in we're sort of hurrying around the box a lot without sort of clear focus. From where you had Diaz and Gakpo very direct last year, looking really, really good, to now having a lot of square pegs in what seemingly is round holes, like TKs and Isaks. They don't fit. They can't work out what's best for Szoboszlai, who's by far their best player. Like Szoboszlai at the moment is their best player. Alexis has fallen off a cliff. What I didn't like for them, I mean, I don't mind it, but like Virgil screaming at Kirkes again. You saw him like just, this, telling him to run, telling him to move. And whilst he popped up for his goal, he just looked out of place again. So you can fill me in fill us all in on the last 30, but from what you were saying, though, it sounded like, they were in a position where, things could have potentially changed, but they didn't. And then obviously Salah scores. There's a million minutes of extra time, 4.5 minutes over the allotted, wasn't it? Something. And then all of a sudden we're sitting around waiting to see what happened. But they look a team made in disarray. They look a team that's really struggling at the moment. Eintracht, one of my close supporting Liverpool friends, told me like about the midweek game. He goes, mate, Eintracht are no good. I don't care what anyone says. They're no good. Yeah. They're wide open. They're sort of, just not, I wouldn't say top of the top Bundesliga. They're sort of they're middle third Bundesliga, and they showed it wide open. We sliced them apart. Brentford will be a bigger test.
Yeah, mate. Frankfurt left time, guys. they get guys on the ball just time you don't get in the Premier League. That's what I came out of that game thinking. I'll just speak to the last 10 to 12 minutes because, like you said you went to your son's cricket game. I went to Nippers at Clovelly Beach. It's a 20-minute drive. And we walk in from I spent 10 minutes trying to get a car park, and then I walked down to the beach, which is another sort of 5-10 minutes. And I'm watching the last, I'm watching injury time on my phone walking down to the beach. That's it was 3-1. It was 3-1 the last time.
It's what we do while we're setting the stumps up at cricket. We're like, and all the kids are like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm just watching the Premier League result.
And one of my mates there is a Liverpool fan too, so I needed to know what happened to give him a bit of stick once we saw each other. But I didn't. So yes, I wasn't. Again, I wasn't. Didn't see the whole thing, but there was 7 minutes of added time, and I'm walking down, and it's gone into 10 minutes, and it goes into the 11th minute. That's where I think I messaged you, just in one of our group chats saying, "Mate, full time, what's going on?"
Yeah,
and there was a bit of blow-ups, and the crowd was going crazy, and the Brentford players were saying, "Mate, blow the whistle, what's going on?" It's blah, blah, blah. I went back, and I just had to know, like, because it's this injury time stuff, it's been a subject, it's been a topic with Liverpool this season. You know, when Liverpool's up, there's this, conspiracy theory that injury time is not great, not a lot. When Liverpool's down, it seems to be a lot of injury time. So I just went back and had a look. There was an injury in the 92nd minute, which took about 3 minutes out. So I actually timed it on my phone, and so it was 7 minutes of added time on the board.
Yeah,
the game finished, in the 100th or 101st minute. And I went back and timed it, and mate, it was time and play without an injury was 7 minutes and 15 seconds. So without doing that, I would have come on and given them given the refs a serve, saying it's disgraceful and all this, that, and the other. But he played exactly 7 minutes, give or take, of what he should have. And so,
this is fascinating from you.
Yeah, mate, like, just because I was like, man, I'm at the beach going, mate, there's 4 minutes, like, we've played 10 minutes of the 7 minutes added time, and the ball's gone out, and he's let Liverpool have a corner. A couple of throw-ins, I think, and Liverpool were in the box and had a couple of chances to go 3-3. And I'm sitting there going, this is disgraceful. So I had to go back and just double check it, and
this is good for
take
you.
It all back.
Yeah,
take it all back. It was a good 7 minutes. Obviously you're at the ground. If you're at the ground, if you're on the field, it's like, hey, what's going on? And I was too, without knowing the injury earlier.
Well, you know at the ground as well, BB, is that they don't show that at time at the ground. So in a Premier League ground, they don't show, like in FIFA. What we did is that for a long time they wouldn't show it either. But FIFA said this is tournament play. It's not Premier League rules and stuff like that. So they actually started 7 minutes at a time, and then they'd put the ticker up like in the scoreboard for them to see. But
nice, yeah.
What changed was, though, is that in the Premier League, they still don't do that. They don't tick it. So you're sitting there genuinely, and you're like, just 7 minutes, but then you're looking at your clock and going, well, it started at 10:05, and now it's 10:16. That's when straight away you look around and go, hang on a second, 11 minutes have gone. What's doing? And you can't tell that, right? And that's where you hear those moans and groans. We heard it last night with our game. And remember when the ref put his finger up for one at 95, wasn't 95-40? Well, and I was in the land room going, come on, mate, what from? But you're probably right. Ball goes out. They muck around for 20 seconds, get ready to take a throw. You saw last night, they're like, oh, ball's wet. I'll pick up the clean one and then go from there. So that's good from you, actually. I think that's really good.
That is about all we've got time for. We've got a minute left on the call. So wrap it up. I probably we could talk for hours and hours on this stuff, but we'll leave it at Arsenal, top of the table, 4 points clear of Bournemouth, 5 points clear of Sunderland, 6 points clear of City, and another point clear of Liverpool and United, who, unpopular opinion, I think maybe putting together something, Manchester United. Just
turning the corner is the language, Brendan. Maybe we can talk about our friends from the Northwest, the Red and Blacks, next time around, mate. They are on a 3-game streak, and Mr. United Strand's only got potentially 2 games to go. So let's see what happens there.
Absolutely, mate. Speak to you next week.
Talk to you next week, mate. Love it.